So one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, can you take us to a website and show us how you look for vulnerabilities and then actually exploit the vulnerability and talk through your methodology? So today, that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We are not going to be looking on an actual live program because that would be illegal if I took you to a live program and started recording, looking for vulnerabilities, and then if I found one, show you how to exploit it. So we're going to be using Juice Shop. It is a vulnerable web application, but it's probably my favorite, especially for learning purposes. So if you're new, I would recommend creating a Try Hack Me account and then trying to follow along and look for vulnerabilities on your own. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you my methodologies and kind of just talk you through what I'm doing and what I'm thinking as I am looking for different things, because that seems to be along with the question that I get. When people want to see me actually look for vulnerabilities, they want to hear my thought process. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. I have gone ahead and opened up Try Hack Me right here. I have started the machine and I have logged in. If you would like to, you can go ahead and open up Try Hack Me and follow along. If not, I'm going to just explain what I think about and what I'm looking for when I open up a web application and what I'm going to probably test for first. Before we get too far into this, I think that it would be helpful for me to go ahead and tell you that you should probably watch my recon course. So before I ever do anything, I'm going to go through the steps in that recon course, and I will link it as the first link down in the description, because I'm not just going to go to a web page and just land on the home page, the main page, and start looking for vulnerabilities. I never do that. So that's kind of what we're going to be skipping, because we don't really have the ability to do all of that recon here on this specific vulnerable web application. But I do walk you through recon on real live production web environments. So if you want to see that, you can go ahead and watch that. And we're going to assume that this is some obscure page that we found, maybe that the company has forgot to take down or left up. So with that said, we have landed on this page. One of the things that I'm probably going to do, if this is some kind of subdomain that I thought looked interesting, is we'll just click that, is I'm going to open up a terminal and I'm going to get some kind of subdomain enumeration going. I'd probably use AMAS, but sometimes that doesn't really work with subdomains very well. So I would use FUF, or I might use GoBuster. And for the sake of this web application, I'm just going to use derp because I know that it is going to work for me. So I don't remember if we actually need HTTP // but we'll put it in there just because. Paste that in and we can go ahead and get that running. So I'm going to have some kind of enumeration going that's automated. Sometimes I might run wfuzz and look for subdomains, or fuff and look for subdomains, but I'm just going to leave it because I know that we're not going to find any, and I'm just going to look for some directory busting. So the next thing, when I land on a page like this, I don't usually look at the login function. I think in the past 3 or 4 years, I maybe have found one bug in a login function. We will look at it just for example purposes. I'm just telling you, I don't usually look at login functions. Those are usually looked at by a lot of bug hunters and are usually pretty secure. Same thing is true with like purchasing things. Usually that is pretty secure. I'm not saying it's always secure, especially if you find a random domain that's really old. There might be some out-of-date software that is running in the background. One of the things I like to do is try and figure out what the software is. And so you can come up here, and maybe you've seen this in some IPsec videos, is you can just type in index or index.html or something like that. You can open up burp and it looks like the directory busting has provoked an error of some kind. But what we're going to do is you can open up burp and try to find out what is running on the server. And we will want to send this over to repeater, and we can just send this and look to see if there's any kind of information about what might be running on the back end. And if we look over here, the cookie, we have this IO, which means it's probably running socket.io, which I think runs with Express.js, which would be Node.js. This is the, I'm going to guess, the socket.io cookie, which means we're probably up against some Express.js, which means Node.js on the back end. So that is helpful to know when we come to doing exploits. So we can go ahead and drop that. One thing that we might do, if I see any search bar, one of the things I like to do just real quickly is cross-site scripting. I don't like to spend a ton of time on cross-site scripting, but I would just type in something that I'll be able to find. So you can just type in something, hit enter, and we can see that we have the search query pop up here. But then I like to inspect this and look to see what kind of tags I'm inside of. And so we have the word something pop up right here. And so we can actually try to break out of this and see if we can get cross-site scripting to work for us. So it actually looks like this is already closed off. So we should be able to just try and put in a script tag. We don't actually have to break out of any HTML or anything like that. So this actually looks pretty simple. We should be able to just try the basic script and then alert and then close out our script tag, and we could run this, and if we do, we see that it doesn't pop up, which means it's probably exiting or has something whitelist, something to do with our script tag. So let's see right here, if we look at this, our script tags are not popping up, so we can try something different. We could close back out of this and we could just try an image tag. So we could just say image, which is probably my second go-to if that doesn't pop up or work, or it's filtering out the script tags for some reason. And we could just say source equals empty string and just say on error. We want to alert 0 and close that off. If we run that, we are able to get the cross-site scripting. Now that's really easy. Probably not going to be that easy in the real world, but that is something that I do look for, is if this is being put somewhere inside of the HTML, then I like to try and break out of the tags and see if I can get a cross-site scripting to work. So there is the cross-site scripting. One thing I would probably do is come over here and look at like the customer feedback and things like this, because it's going to be something that probably doesn't get tested quite as much. If there was something inside of these, like we have this review, because we were able to get a cross-site scripting to work earlier, I would try cross-site scripting in here as well. So I would create an account and I would try to get cross-site scripting to work inside of here. I would come over to the customer feedback. It says that we're not logged in, so we have this anonymous user. We can make a comment. We can leave a rating, because this actually is not ran by Google and it actually looks like they created this CAPTCHA. I might inspect it and I might look at it to see if there is something in here that I could exploit. And it doesn't look like there's a whole lot in here. It just says we have the code and the white space. We have the problem solved. One thing that I just noticed is we have these hidden features. If you just delete those, you'll be able to see these start popping up. Is that the only hidden feature in here? So we have that in here. Now I lost it. I don't remember where it was. So we can just leave a feedback, and let's intercept this in burp. So if we intercept this and we submit it, we have the CAPTCHA ID, the answer, the comment, the rating. I would always like to send this to repeater because I want to see the response. So if we forward this, we can just shut that off. And we forward, we get unauthorized, we got the wrong answer, and that is because I did 7 times 10 minus 10, so that would do it. So the right answer to this is 32 whenever you don't go 7 times 10 minus 10 and you actually do it the right way. Let's turn our proxy back on so that way we can actually see this. We have the API feedback, send to repeater. Let's go ahead and forward that. Let's send this and see what we get back in return. So we have an ID of 9. That must be the anonymous user. And it looks like it was successful. So one thing that I might try is to copy this ID. Well, it's inside of the data, which is inside the comment. We have the rating. So we might be able to let's grab the user ID. So we have this user ID is null. So there's nothing being sent in. I'm going to assume that it's going to be able to be sent over as this data because our comment is in here and we have our rating in here. This might not work, but we're going to go ahead and give it a try. We can add our comma here, paste that in, and let's see what happens if we add in like a number 1. So if we can make this post, it would be as hopefully the admin, because they'd be user number 1, because right now we're sending this over as anonymous with no user ID. So if we send that, it does work and it says you've successfully forged feedback. So that was one of the challenges. I would like to actually see the feedback. So let's turn off the proxy. It is off. I don't know where we would find the actual feedback at? Customer feedback. It is apparently we can't see it. We're just able to write the feedback. So that is something I would do is I would look at something over here. I'd look at something that's probably not on the main page. So the about us, I would see if I could do anything with the about us. You have some really fuzzy pictures and I might try to mess with some of this. But let's go ahead and let's look at the login function because I'm pretty sure there's going to be bugs in the login function on a vulnerable web application. So we could just come over here and put in our email and we could just say, we actually need to create an email. Not yet a customer because we don't have an email. So we'll just create one, make our password, security question, answer. All right, so we should be able to create our user, but we should always look at it in burp. So we'll go ahead and register it and we will send this to repeaters so we can mess with it and we will forward it. We can just shut that off. And it says we have registered a user. So we can come over to repeater, send this. We're told that the email must be unique because that email already exists. So let's try a number 1 right here in this email. And if we send this, we get a success. So we can just mess with this straight from burp. So we can turn this into a number 2. If we just look through here, we can see if there's anything we can adjust inside of this data like we did earlier. So we have the data, which is going to have our email, our password. Maybe that's sent over. It doesn't show that, obviously in the response, it doesn't say that, but we have our emails in here. Let's see if we can change our role right here. So let's just grab the role and we'll just copy the comma so we can paste it in. Let's just try it right here first. And if this doesn't work, maybe we can mess with it. So I actually don't know if maybe there's a customer and there's an admin. Let me send this. And it did work. So what's it say? It says we have solved the challenge. We've created an admin, or we've registered an admin user. Somebody with admin privileges, I guess is what it actually says. So you can mess with the JSON like we did earlier. Sometimes I really don't like messing with JSON and I will go X dash, I wouldn't do this because there's too much right here. So actually, I'll show you this over here. We'll just actually do it with like a SQL injection. So I'll actually just show you what I like doing instead of using this JSON. What I would do if I was like looking for SQL injection, I would go ahead and create my user and I would pretend like I'm logging in and I would grab it over here, log in, send to repeater. And if you've watched my channel for very long, then you probably know what I'm talking about right here. I don't like using this JSON because I don't like messing with it down here because the syntax really matters. And you can delete this JSON and you can type in X www form URL URL encoded, and then you can adjust this right here. So this would be equals, delete all of this, delete that, and we'd say and sign, which would give us the password, and the password equals, and delete this over here. And then if we hit the send button, which I already did, you will get back this right here telling us we are logged in. So now if we wanted to do SQL injection, we can do it right here, which I believe is easier than if we did the SQL injection with the JSON. We'll actually go look at it. So we can have 2 requests. Let's log in then we need to intercept this, hit login. And now if we wanted to send this to repeater and we wanted to do SQL injection, we have to do it from right here. And you can see we get an error, but I like the way this looks a lot better. And we can just put our single quote in, send it, and we can produce the same error. So if we look over here, you actually see the SQL statement. It actually gives it to us right here. And you can see if you followed any of my Python videos or SQL database hacking, then you know that this right here would be not secure. And because what it looks like normally would be delete this one right here, this one single quote, and then we are able to break it by adding in a second single quote. And with this statement right here, we should be able to just go and put a semicolon and say or 1 equals 1. And we could put the hash. Let's go ahead and try this. And I believe this needs to be URL encoded. If we send that, we get authenticated, but I'm not sure who we're logged in as. Let's come back to the main page, and it says we're not logged in. So it says it was successful. So what we could do is just come over to the login page, and we could just type it in straight from here, and we could just say at whatever, and then we could do a single quote, and we could say or 1 equals 1, and then put our semicolon right here, and then we can put in a hash. And I think the double dash works as well. We can try both of them. So we are able to log in as the administrator with that right there. But did we log out? There's too much going on. We come back up here and we log in. I think we can use the single quote or 1 equals 1 and the semicolon and then the dash dash. I think that works as well. And it does. We are able to log in as admin. Now, one other thing you could do, since there is SQL injection, we could grab another user like this right here. And let's see if we can figure out how we can log in as that person. So we need to log in, and we should be able to, instead of just hitting the single quote and then saying or 1 equals 1, which is going to log us in as admin, we should be able to just comment out the rest of this with the double dash, and I think we can still use the pound sign. And this is just going to say we're trying to log in as this user. So if we come back over to our SQL statement, it's going to tell us that we're trying to log in as that specific user, and then it's just going to comment everything else out after it, which is going to make the statement true. So that should allow us to log in, and you can see we just put anything in the password. And if we hit log in, that does not work. So let's go ahead and try the dash dash. And that does, it says we're able to log in with Bender's account. Okay, so I think we'll just go ahead and leave it right there. So that's kind of how I would think through and test things. I guess I could show you over here. I would look through all of these different directories that we were able to find and see if there is some information here. So like this FTP would look interesting. So if I came up here and I just did an FTP, I would come and look through things like this, look through these files and see if I'm able to find anything. So that is kind of what I would do in a live program. Now, obviously I can't show you like everything that I would do because every website is going to be different and everything that I'm going to be attacking. I'm just going to be looking for whatever is interesting to me. But if I come across a website that looks like this one right here, then I am probably going to be looking for things inside of what is probably less tested. So I would log in and I would test things that are inside the login function, because a lot of people are lazy. They don't like to log in and test things inside of there. They just like to test whatever they land on the landing page. That's not going to be your best bet. The best bet is going to be do some kind of directory busting and look for different directories and look through these and then check things on those pages. So the more obscure, the better. So with that, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions down below.